All right, so I'm going to talk about ankle dorsiflexion mobilizations with a band. Now, typically, people are just doing this because they've done a wall test and they've found that they don't have a lot of passive range of motion. A couple things you want to pay attention to is whether you have restriction and tightness in the backside or whether it's in the actual capsule of the joint of the ankle, and that will help you really determine whether you need this kind of mobilization or not. I do this specifically, and every once in a while, I don't do this all the time, but I've broken this right ankle, so I need to really sometimes get into the joint space whenever this is starting to feel blocked as the ankle is, as the space of the ankle is closing down. I will get that oftentimes pinching, blocking type sensation. So that's when I'll use a banded mobilization. Not everybody needs to do that, especially if they already have a lot of passive range of motion. This is a passive mobilization, so not mobility, but we're trying to get into this space and clear up some of that range of motion. And then I'll start to add in some internal inputs and some stimulus to help achieve a little bit more of a newly acquired range while starting to work into the talus, that anterior to posterior glide. So we really want to achieve the anterior posterior glide of the talus as the tibia is traveling over it, so we can get that dorsiflexion. Now there are more components that go on here, and there's some rotation that happens at the foot and the ankle to be able to achieve this range of motion. But if you're specifically trying to get that linear range of motion and you're falling short, you've already worked on some of the rotational components, then this is something that I tend to utilize. And so not everybody needs to use it, but this is something that I do. So what I'll do is, and where I see people go wrong, is they tend to take a very thick band and they're hitting some of the talus and some of the shin, the tibia here, and they're almost just kind of blocking everything. So, or you're going too high with the band. So you're going too high, it's just defeating the purpose of what we're trying to accomplish here. Now you want to find at least medial lateral malleolus is two knobs on the inside and the outside. You want to be below that, and I typically elevate myself on something and give myself a little bit of an inferior glide with that A to P directional force, that front to back glide there. I'll scoot my foot up just a little bit, make sure that I'm getting a good amount of pull, and then not too much, nothing too crazy, but once I'm here, then I will sit into a combat base position. I'm going to get chest over the knee, and I'm going to sit passively here. Once I'm there, I'm sitting in a little bit of a stretch in the back, but mostly feel what's going on in the ankle. Now when I'm here, then I can utilize this with more of an active approach that will help us achieve more of a newly acquired range of motion, along with having some kind of mobilization, a passive mobilization that's going on at the same time. So this is what I do. You don't have to do this, but you could take this and run with it and do whatever kind of position you want to, but this is how I like to do it. I like to sit here and do a Pales rails or some kind of isometric contraction where the Pales is the progressive side where I'm driving down for 10 seconds. I'm using this kettlebell as leverage and I'm driving down, and whenever I'm doing that, I feel that contraction going on within the capsule of the ankle, and then I'm going to start to pull and contract on the regressive, the shortened side of the tissue, so you'll feel your tibialis anterior contracting to pull yourself more knee over toe, and then you can take yourself into a little bit more range of motion after you do the 10 and 10. It's like a 10-10-10, so take yourself to about 10 more degrees range of motion, very subtle, and then do that a few times to get through that joint space. But if you feel that opening up a little bit too much, this is something you want to be very careful with, that you don't push yourself too far. And then a lot of times, if this isn't working for you, you may want to start to attack this in a different way. You might want to start looking at the rotation component of the ankle rather than pure linear dorsiflexion if you can't necessarily get through this range of motion. So I want to thank you guys for watching. I'll check you guys on the next one.